Hi, everyone. My name is Faheem, and I am here to kickstart the APSWC Spa Business Series for June 2022. Over this series, we're going to be looking at different ways in which we can impact our business positively using best practices and making the logic quite easy to understand and simple. In some cases, this may be familiar to you and may simply be an encouragement or a reminder. For those of you in which this information might be new to you, that's great. We hope you learned something, and we want you to connect back with us in case you have questions so that we can constantly guide you and help you through this process. So without further ado, let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about KPIs and how to use them. But before I get there, please go ahead and click the subscribe button below. We want you to engage and learn and share with us all of the information that the Asia Pacific Spa and Wellness Coalition has for you. It's such great content, and we want you to have access to it completely free. So please go ahead and subscribe right below, and we look forward to seeing you. Awesome. So let's get started. KPIs and how to use them. What are we going to go through today? Today's sharing is going to be 3 key spa KPIs that you could start to use today. That's right, today. We're going to talk about how we calculate the KPIs, each of them, and what do they mean? What should they mean to you? And lastly, how can you take action that influences them? And understand what influences these KPIs positively and negatively, and the direct relation to your business. Awesome. So let's get started with the first one. Just to give you an understanding of this slide, you can see the calculation in brackets. We see, in this case, a percentage mark. That's how the calculation is reflected. In this case, capture ratio is shown as a percentage. Okay. So the first KPI we're going to talk about is capture ratio. To explain what this is, it would be the total number of guests who paid for services divided by the total number of guests in a segment. What is a segment? An example would be a hotel would be a segment. A membership base could be a segment. An island could be a segment. An amusement park could be a segment. So there are many things that you can classify as a segment. You need to decide what is relevant and meaningful to you. With the example of a hotel, we will know how many guests each day are in the hotel, so we can qualify that segment and how many guests are in our spa. So if we measure the the number of spa guests against the hotel guests for that day, we can see the relevance of the spa to the guests on that day. And that would be shown as a percentage. Okay. It's important that you know what the segment numbers are actually very frequently so that you can constantly measure this. How is it relevant to me, or what should it mean to me? Well, this is a calculation to show how relevant your business is. If you are located in a hotel and you have chosen to locate your business there, you obviously would want to know how relevant is your spa to the hotel, how meaningful. If you're a day spa, you may want to look at your street or take a compilation of buildings, condos, or houses and know how many people are in that segment and make your calculation from there. If you are in the Maldives on a remote island, you might want to know how many people are on the island. So you want to understand the relevance of your business by calculating how many people used your spa on that day, that week, or that month against the total number of people that are in that segment. Okay. And this is showing you how important or relevant your spa is to that segment. So very, very important KPI. How could you influence this? Well, there's several ways, but here I've just highlighted a few. First and foremost, know what type of guests that visit your spa. They don't always stay the same. They can be they could be holiday goers. They could be on a school schedule. They could be seasonal based on the weather, based on tourists. There are many different segments, and you need to be able to identify those and also know where to find them. How do you contact them and how do you communicate them? The better that you can do that, the more you can influence your capture rate positively. And when things are not going great, you can probably identify more easily where to look and what and why. You want to discover ways to meet them earlier. Okay, as part of your marketing strategy, you want to be able to get in their mind and plant seeds. So consider your overall CRM process. Look at where they are learning about your spa or your hotel or your island or your park, and find ways to connect with them and plant the seed early and frequently so that they know that you exist and they know how they can use your spa to make their overall experience better. Okay. The other thing is make sure you change your expectations frequently. Okay. Whether they're daily, monthly, seasonally, don't expect the same results from each segment and also each season. That's just silly. If you say I have to achieve an 8% capture ratio for the whole year, you don't just expect that every single day. You need to be breaking that down by, it could be days of the week, for example, weekdays versus weekends. It could be times of the day. It could be capture ratios in the morning segment versus the evening segment, and then calculating your average from there. So you need to understand what your expectations are and set them clearly. Be flexible so that you can change these around. Okay. Next, on top of that is you must monitor this all the time. If you want to make an impact in this KPI, you want to make sure that you know your business is relevant to the market that you are trying to serve. You must monitor this and you must look at multiple possibilities of how you can improve this. Okay, so that's capture ratio. To reflect, it is the number of guests who are in your spa for a period of time, for example, 1 day, and measuring that as a percentage against the total number in a segment. For example, guests in your hotel, if you are a hotel spa. Okay, hope that's clear. Questions? Put them in the chat below. We will be monitoring them and we will respond to you. So please do that. Add them in the chat below. Okay. For those of you, I'm going to pause for a second, who are going to stay through to the end of this video, I do have a little surprise for you. So please stay till the end, and we want to make sure that you benefit from this and we feed you as much knowledge and sharing as we can. So stay to the end. We're not that far away. The next calculation as a dollar sign would be average rate per service or per guest. Okay, a service would be perhaps a treatment or a hair therapy or something like that that you may offer, and by guest you'd be a guest who enjoys the services in the spa. Okay, the way that these are calculated, it is total revenue that you generate divided by the total number of services performed. So total revenue generated by the services divided by total number of services performed, and that would give you average rate per service. For average rate per guest, you would get the total number of total revenue generated by services divided by the total number of guests served in your spa. Again, for the hour, for the day, for the week, the month. Okay, so we're taking a total, dividing it by the number of units. What should this mean to me? Well, this is a direct reflection on your sales, right? This KPI will explain to you how you have managed the pricing in your business, and also the time, both pricing and your offering as well as time. Okay. If you have priced your menu well and relevant, you can maximize your average rate, and you will, without compromising the number of guests that you have in the spa, and that will improve your business. Alternatively, if you are aware of the time that a guest can give you when they come to their spa, you might find ways in which to optimize that time and increase the average rate. How do you do this? Well, we're going to move to how can I influence this? And I've got some suggestions here to share with you. First one is to understand which treatments to sell when. Okay, this particular area, stay tuned for our 4th week. I think in our business series, we are going to do a full learning session on yield management and making that so simple that you can understand how to implement that immediately. You need to look at what is your revenue per available minute and also your profit per available minute. This will help you to understand what treatments to sell when. Okay. Many times we make the assumption that we are busy between 4 to 7 o'clock, but it's not really true because we're not measuring it. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. So we want to understand the revenue per available minute and profit per available minute so that you can know which treatments to sell when. Stay tuned. Please come back for that because it's a great session and it can make immediate improvements in your business if it's implemented well. The next thing I mentioned earlier was about the guest time. Be creative. Do you have special offers or add-ons? If someone only has 45 minutes and they're there for a quick haircut, could you give them a hand massage for an extra $20 or something like that, that they might gain something from it, and you can increase that check by 20 or 30%. That could help you to improve and impact your average rate per service and per guest well. So that will give you an opportunity there. Should you consider a flexible pricing model? This is a difficult one for spas to understand, but there are ways to do this without having to constantly change your pricing. Again, we will talk about this in the yield management model in a few weeks' time. This is a really great opportunity. The common argument is, well, airplanes do it because the person sitting next to me on the airplane didn't pay the same rate that I paid for my ticket, right? Spas can do it too. Right? We just have to be a bit more sensitive and a bit more organized about how we do this. Okay. Lastly, monitor this regularly. When you have KPIs, you should be having targets for this, again, by season, by maybe even by hour, by or day of the week. You want to make sure that these KPIs are monitored regularly because they will tell you exactly how much money you have made, how much profit you have made, and allow you to maneuver and be flexible with your strategies and your promotion strategies for the remainder of a month or a year so that you can meet your targets. Okay. The third and final KPI for today is staff productivity. Okay, this is a very important one. The first 2 KPIs we talked about were really related to driving revenue and optimizing profit, right? Staff productivity, shown as a percentage, is also very much related to your profitability, but also about efficiencies and the effectiveness of managing your team. All right. The way that we calculate this, the total number of treatment hours that were performed by a service provider or a therapist, and we divide that by the total working hours in that day. As a day being an example, could be day, week, month. So in this case, if I had worked 8 hours today, and within that 8 hours, I performed 4 hours of treatments, my productivity would be 50%, right? This is not including non-productive hours such as meetings or cleaning, etc. We're talking about direct revenue generating hours. We want to understand how many hours a day am I actually generating revenue, right? And therefore, how effective am I being with the people that I have as well. Okay. And what should this mean to me? Well, a critical KPI for your business, right? It shows how productive your staff are, and it is a direct link to sales. If productivity is too low, it means that it will reduce your margins significantly. Your costs will be higher, and therefore in relation to your revenue, and you will have less profit. But if your productivity is too high, there's the danger of affecting the quality of your work and the reputation of your services, which is difficult to measure, right? Except for customer satisfaction surveys and loyalty surveys. But at the same time, is dangerous and can be detrimental to your business. It's a bit of a silent killer. So I'd encourage you to make sure you know where your sweet spot is. So know your sweet spot, which is the first point in the influencing this KPI. If you know where your sweet spot, and every country and spa is different because it also can affect based on different labor laws, etc. But what I have found in my experience is 70 to 85% is a good sweet spot in terms of a range. Okay. And that will generally show that team members are being productive. They're happy, that they have the time to provide good service to people, and they're even more willing to upsell and to retail items because they don't feel so pressured and so pushed. Okay. So that's a good sweet spot. Okay. You want to also consider cross-training team members to utilize low periods. So if you can cross-train therapists to work at the spa, at the sales desk in the morning, and give them the skills to make sales predictable. Okay. Again, something we're going to be talking about when we talk about incremental revenue next week. Okay. If we can make sales predictable and teach people how to do that, then you can use your specialist sales staff at regular times, and you can optimize your therapists perhaps at low periods, right? Low hours where you don't have too much flow. Don't be afraid to pay overtime. Okay, think about your margins. I see too often in spas where people will send team members home because their 8-hour day is finished, but then they will have 5 customers that show up later in the evening, and you have to turn them away. Ask people to come back, give them the money rather than losing the money from the potential customer, and try to optimize and to convert that business. Of course, be careful not to overdo it and not to overstrain team members, but be creative and don't be afraid to ask. Okay. Again, another KPI that you must monitor daily, as well as on trending. This really has correlations to employee satisfaction. It has correlations to your profit margins, and it directly impacts your sales, right? So really, really important and critical KPI. Okay, so that's 3 KPIs that we went through today. The first one being capture ratio, where we're looking at the relevance of your business compared to a segment that you are targeting. We looked at average treatment rate per service and also per guest, where we're looking at optimizing both your pricing and optimizing the time in which people spend with you. And thirdly, we looked at staff productivity. So we considered what is the sweet spot of having your team members work in terms of their percentage. And thirdly, we looked at staff productivity, where we understood the direct links between our team members' productivity and our profit margins, service qualities, as well as sales. And lastly, as we finish up today, as I said, for those of you that hung around to the end, I wanted to share a bit of a gift for you. So we have created on our website a free KPIs explained ebook, which you can download from spa-tx.com. Please go on there and sign up. And we've got a heap of KPIs. And in each one of them, we show the calculations, also the relevance to you and the meaning, as well as how you can influence it. So if you are interested in learning more click that link or go to spatx.com. It's also in the chat below, and you can download that ebook. We'll also put a link directly to this presentation. If anybody is interested in going back and reviewing what we shared over here, you'll get a link to that as well. So thanks so much for listening to the first business series for the APSWC. If you haven't subscribed, remember to subscribe now so you can get all the great content that the APSWC puts together. And we are growing in our community, and it is awesome. So come along, and thanks a lot. And we'll see you next week for our next business series. We're looking forward to, and we're going to be talking about driving your incremental revenue. So lots of exciting things to come up there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.